Hello, this is your teacher Tara in beautiful Terra Linda, North San Rafael. You have probably already seen the regular tutorial for how to make a pool noodle headdress, which is the replacement for how to do a buckram one, because it's easier for you to get pool noodles than buckram while you are stuck at home. You can go to any Dollar Tree and get them. So I have the conventional one that has the step-by-step that you can look at on the page, but I thought you might like to go and see a video version for a crazy one like the ones we did in Seussical. So here goes. And today I'm going to show you how to take a baseball cap and some pool noodle and some Floralays and a hot glue gun and make a pool noodle wig. The first thing that you should know about a hot glue gun is that it's hot and it can hurt you, so you want to be careful with it. You also want to go and make sure that you always use the lowest temperature that can be used for the project you're doing. Hot glue works faster than other kinds of glues, and that's its chief value, is that it does things faster. The hotter it is, the longer it takes to dry, so it will work faster for you if it is cooler. Also, if you are working on foam, you have to use it at a lower temperature, or it melts the foam and it doesn't really work that well. Plus, foam is an insulation, and if you put something hot between two layers of insulation, it takes a long time for it to cool down, at which point you just lost the whole value of having a hot glue gun that is fast. So, put it on a low temperature, and then you're going to prep your baseball cap. Now, a baseball cap is not as good as making a fitted buckram head cap, but for purposes of little fiddly wigs that are supposed to run a couple of weekends of a show, or for going to a parade or a party, they are awesome. And the main thing you need to do is you need to go and remove the bill from the cap so that it can become a wig cap of sorts. Now, on the inside, there is stitching, and on the outside is stitching. Now, most folks will cut one of these caps looking at the outside, and if you do that, you will end up cutting off the stitching on the inside, which will destabilize the front of the cap, which will destroy the entire purpose of your having used the cap in the first place, because this is the stable base for your pool noodle wig. So start from the inside with heavy-duty shears. This is a pair of IKEA kitchen shears, though you can do this with the Harbor Freight Tools ones as well. And you cut it close, about 1/8 of an inch from that internal stitching line, because the internal one is a little further out. I'm having trouble seeing this as it's so dark, even in a bright room. My favorite for cutting this are what they call penny cutter shears. They are rather wonderful. Now, this leaves you with this little bit of an edge. Don't worry about the little bit of an edge. That is stabilizing this thing. Then, the next thing you want to do is you want to open this as wide as you can, because one of the other things that baseball caps are good for is they're adjustable. So you can make a hat that can fit multiple people, because it will adjust for each of those people. However, if you're trying to use it as a basis for a goofy wig, you want to have a lower part, a back part to that wig. And you take the bill and you put it on under that adjustable band on the back. However, when you're doing that, you want to do that with the band in the widest open position so that it will fit the widest possible range of people. So you take that and you put a little bit of glue on each of the internal corners of the thing. And then you put that on either side of this and have it in that open position. Now then, when you have a smaller person, you can pull it in a little tighter, and it will go a little tighter through around their head, and it will still stay in position for being your quick and dirty wig. Okay, let that cool off. And the next thing is, of course, the pool noodle. Now, pool noodle wigs you can make in strips and like little lines sticking out like hairs. And you can also make curls. We have some lovely curls. And that looks like it's super difficult. It isn't difficult at all. What you need are one of your basic Dollar Tree snap knives or Harbor Freight snap knives. And you need to understand that what you do is you move the pool noodle, not the knife. So I've marked this particular one so you can see how I got this particular kind of curl. This particular kind of curl is actually where you make two curls simultaneously out of one thing. And to do that, you go and pop in your snap knife, and you start here. And this is the exciting bit. You hold the knife steady, and you slightly saw with it, turning the pool noodle. Now what I've done with my markings is I've made my markings 2 inches apart from one another at a staggered set of intervals. So it's measure down 1 inch on one side and 2 inches on the other side, and then make marks every 2 inches. And that will end up making you a section that starts out being 1 inch, and after you go around a couple of times will be about 2 inches. This is approximate. The main thing is you just need it to be big enough that later you can split it into half. I normally do this by eyeball, but it's easier for you to see if I put the little markings on. And as you can see, I'm not moving the knife. By not moving the knife, by holding it steady, I make it much less likely that the knife is going to cut me. Now, it also helps to wear a glove on your non-dominant hand to avoid this as well. Unfortunately, I left my gloves at work, so I can't do that as a demo at home. Now, you're not noticing the cut particularly much at this point, but as you can see, it's there. You do that, and you just keep going around until you have a double cut. Now, so now I have a baseball cap with the back, or the front on the back, and I have a bunch of pool noodles. However, I want to make them into shorter curls, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make cuts in them. And in each case, what I want to do is not cut them straight across. I want to go and stick them at an angle so that you get a nice little point like this. And even later to do like that to get a nice little point. Now, in between ones, you can have them be flat, but for each of the ones where you want to have a point, you still want to go and do it like that. So for the spot that's going to go on the head, you want to go and cut flat like this, which will give you a point, but it won't give you as long of a point. It'll give you a reasonably stable section to attach. Same thing, this will become that. But then this section here is going to be the point where I want it to come out. I'll pick this thick spot here. And what you'll see is you cut like that so that it goes down. And you get a stronger, sharper looking point. And then you can cut your point like that. Always cut away from you. And when in doubt, don't move this, move this. So I'm going to do that with a bunch more of these curls, and then I'm going to start sticking them on. Now, what I'd like to do next is I'd like to stick some pool noodles on the head. And I've preheated the hot glue gun so that it is on low melt. And I'm going to put a little onto the foam. You'll notice I changed the head form to a cheap plastic one. One of the nice things about having it at low melt is even when you do get a little bit of it on your fingers, it's warm, but it's not so hot that it usually burns you. Now, one of the nuisances to having hot glue on foam is the foam is an insulator, and so it takes longer for it to stick on foam than it does on other things. It is especially true if you're sticking foam to foam, because then it's insulated on both sides. So you always want to go with the lowest temperature you can get away with. In many cases, you end up with a little bit of a bald spot here. So what you end up doing with that is you add a little bit of trim or cloth over that spot, and that hides it. That I can put over that spot that will help to disguise that open space. Okay, so at this point, we've got the noodles in. They're going every which way with a whole lot coming toward the front, and a little bit less to the back. Then, what I'm going to do is, ordinarily what you would do is you might paint or fill this with fabric or some other thing. What I have on hand are a bunch of flower lays. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue little flowers in between, and that will help hide the cap and make it look fun and festive and have more than one color on the design, which is usually desirable. You don't want something super monochrome. If you end up doing something super monochrome, you'll probably go back in with spray paint to go and make it have a more 3D quality. So I'm going to start with some of these little bits of floral lay in pink, and put a little bit of pink hither and yon. So here we have the crazy sort of Pride Parade wig, and it's got lots of flowers, and it's got lots of pool noodles, and after I pried it loose of this, because of course it tries to glue itself to the headpiece, which is why I use the cheap one, it's looking almost perfect, but it needs something shiny on it. And since I don't have a lot of stuff like that at home, I thought I would cut up the candy wrapper and cut that into little triangles, like that, and then I could glue those on. All the little spider webs of hot glue off. Go to you with the camera a little further away so you can see all of its twinkly glory. That's it.